Hello, welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim. I'm joined by Kirsty. How are you?
I'm still losing my voice after we had a massive weekend at PAX Australia, of course.
Yep.
I'm surprised I'm still standing, to be honest. I probably aren't. In real life, I'm probably dead in a gutter somewhere because it's intense.
Yeah. Thanks for everyone who came down to our panels and
Yes.
said hello and all that.
Yes,
So
yeah.
Hope you had fun.
Yes, definitely. And got all those street passes, those
Yep.
sweet street passes. I just wish they'd released a new puzzle before because I've finished the puzzles and I need new puzzle pieces. I need a new reason to live.
Game of problems.
I know. First world problems, hashtag. Anyway, we do have some great content now. Of course, we will be having some great PAX content coming up for you in the coming weeks.
Yes.
Don't forget to check it out, particularly over the Christmas period, which is going to be pretty full on games-wise.
Yes, and we've also been playing games.
We have, I know, in between the partying, we
Yes.
have been playing some games. Of course, we have...
I've been playing some Borderlands.
Oh, good
so-
old... The pre-sequel now, I never quite... The joke is somewhere in there, and it's Bordublands. I think you forgot the wob-wob in between, which is very nice.
But we've also got The Evil Within.
We do, which has been getting, so much attention. Tokyo Game Show was almost entirely branded with The Evil Within and a lot of positive talk coming out of that. So I'm really excited to see what the guys have to say.
And speaking of Tokyo Game Show as well, we have an interview from Tokyo Game Show.
We do. We've got some interviews, some great coverage coming from Tokyo Game Show. We also have the guys talking about Old Game Plus.
Yes, talking about Sonic this episode. So
course.
let's get straight into The Evil Within.
Well, Jamie, don't you just love Halloween? The blood-curdling screams, the people yelling trick or treat, as well as all the Halloween-themed games coming out.
I like spooky games. Spooky games are fun.
Speaking of which, we'll be reviewing The Evil Within. So it's the latest third-person survival horror by Shinji Mikami, the grandfather of survival horror.
Resident Evil 4 is a great game.
Resident Evil 4 is a great game, but let's just jump straight into it. So you jump into the shoes of Sebastian Calistanos.
Yep.
So he is a disgruntled detective who is trying to go for this case. He runs into a mental hospital, murdered people everywhere, and suddenly he jumps into the mind of a madman.
And shit goes down from there.
Yeah, effectively. So you go from different places. So you jump in the mind of Ruvik, who is the main antagonist of the game, and he jumps and he throws you into all sorts of very unfavorable scenarios, like jumping in these huge towering creatures, ones with chainsaws, ones that have that look like spiders, and they try and behead you and kill you.
That sounds oddly familiar.
Yeah, so it does jump you into a world just full of different phobias. So if you're an arachnophobia, a claustrophobic, like there's a lot of bad things happening. So if you're very faint of heart, this game is definitely not for you.
It's also just kind of rough, like the visual styles, like there's nails driven into stuff, there's spikes everywhere. It's
very visceral.
Yes. It's visceral, it's gory, it's just like it takes a lot of getting used to. I like the style.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind seeing how it goes on further in the game.
I must add, though, that the game does look very lovely. Aside from the occasional pop-in, and it is a little bit jarring at times running on the ID engine, it does work well when there's no pop-in at all.
Right.
It's awesome. The lighting is fantastic. But let's talk about the gameplay, though.
Yeah, the widescreen also works, but I suppose that's a personal thing.
Yeah, but the gameplay perspective, it is textbook Shinji Mikami. So if you want something very similar to Resident Evil 4 and the Saw series, like providing instant death, you've got it. It's awesome. I absolutely love it. But what about you?
I actually like it. It's more, there's a better approach where it's not just, I'm running around shooting people with a shotgun. It's awesome, but there's also approaches where I can actually stealth take down. I can kill people with stealth now. That's
you can play how you want.
Always a little something I like. And there's also traps where you can kill people with fire, which, again, always a big fan of that stuff.
Like I said, very visceral experience, and if you're looking for something Halloween, you certainly can't do worse. You can't do worse than The Evil Within.
That's right.
So it seems quite appropriate that we're reviewing this game just after Halloween.
Yes.
But unlike kids in sheets with holes cut out in them, this is actually scary.
Yeah, I know the guys had a go at it with the Halloween stream that they were doing, and it definitely looks scary. And I'm not the kind of person that goes out and sees a horror movie, so it has to have a good game backing it up for me to want to play it, because, scary things are scary.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, it is Shinji, Ikami, so we have got the Resident Evil backing, but again, it is with Japanese influence.
Yeah.
Of course, there are going to be a lot of cinematics, but universally there seems to be a reaction that this is a scary game.
Yeah.
And to actually have that is quite difficult. I think it's really difficult to have that genuine fear in games. I mean, Silent Hill really did it for me as well. Like, every time I see a fogged, place, I just kind of go,
And even having like that backing of the Resident Evil series and being able to draw off that, it really turns out to be a really twisted and spooky game, which I think has worked out well. There's not too many of those around.
No, and I think that's what's great. It does. I'm not going to say it's filling a gap in the market because I don't know if there necessarily was that gap in the market, but I think that kind of gameplay, something really different from a lot of the really over the top, hyper realistic alien shooters that we're getting.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that kind of breather and actually have like this extreme emotion evoked just from this video game.
So I really found Lethal League to be an interesting game in its own right. It's considered to be a 2D, put your damn fingers down, this is my bit, a 2D projectile fighting game. And as ridiculous a categories I feel that falls into, that's exactly what it is. It was a Flash game made by Team Reptile in 2013, and then August of this year, 2014, it became released as a fully fledged Steam game.
So basically, the premise of the game, you're trapped in a room with up to 3 other people, and you're hitting a baseball at each other at intense speeds.
Those are some intense speeds on the screen right now. But the game in itself is really, really fun as a party game. If I had to equate it to something, I would definitely think it's reminiscent of Dive Kick. The graphics are fairly similar. Each character has their own special techniques. One hit kills, so don't try to pull any smart stuff.
That said, there's also one other thing we have to mention. The music is amazing.
The music in this game is brilliant. Every stage has its own individual soundtrack, and everyone is better than the last.
And all characters kind of got this apocalyptic hip-hop element to them, and it really, really melds well with the music.
And the developers are constantly updating it. There are new characters coming out as we speak.
As we speak.
As we squeak. Anyway, if I had to recommend a game, this would be one of my top 5 games that I would recommend to anyone in the world. It's an amazing party game, and I heartily recommend anyone should go play it.
It's fun.
It is very, very fun. And that's what you want in a game.
Yeah, it's still a lot of fun working on it. Right now, we're bringing it out for Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So this is the first time they're coming out on sort of the new generation of consoles. We know there are a lot of people that were asking for that, and we're really happy to bring it out this quickly to those consoles as well. There are several other features that we think players will really like, trying to keep players engaged in Dead or Alive 5. So yeah, it's still a lot of fun. One of the biggest upgrades to the graphics is the fact that it's in 1080p at 60 frames per second. It has been beautiful, and we think it's still going to be, it's going to look. It has looked great, and it's going to look even better on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. We've also added, we've also improved the skin shaders. We've added more effects to the stage destruction. So it really is going to be, like, the visuals are going to be there for like next-gen visuals. So adding new characters to the roster and making sure that that balance is there is something that we were doing all the time, from the main entry of the series through all of the updates. So it's not something that is particularly difficult for us. We all have a lot of fun getting in there, playing it, adjusting the balance, playing it again, and making sure that it's the best fighting system that we can make. So we did add the power launcher in Dead or Alive 5 Ultimate, but if we were to add in even more features to the system itself, that would make the system even more complicated and sort of make the barrier to entry even higher than it would be. And that's when we were thinking about last round and what we could do with it. That's something that we didn't want to do. So we've made a conscious decision not to put too many new features into the fighting system. And just make it easier for players who know the existing fighting system to get in there and keep fighting, as they're comfortable fighting. I've always used Kasumi. Murray Rose has taken center stage, so I'm a little sad about that.
So Shane, I take a look at you right now, and you look like the kind of person who doesn't know what a Manchester United is. Would you agree with that?
A Manchester United?
Yes.
Is that like a lot of people in Manchester that are together, or?
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that. But to actually answer that question, I think it's a game for you. I think you're going to really like this.
Yep.
It's called FIFA 15. It's available on just about everything, but we've been looking at the current gen version, so the PC, PS4, Xbox One's versions. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the game?
I'm actually going to say something first. I'm actually a PES fan, not a FIFA fan. So coming into this, I haven't touched a FIFA in about 3-4 years, and I've realised why. Looking at it, I feel like it's an Xbox 360 game, even though I'm playing it on Xbox One.
Right, I mean, I would sort of agree with that. I mean, the way that the character models look, I mean, it's not what 2K are doing, which just those games look phenomenal. But I think it makes up for that in other departments. Like, for me, the thing that really seals about it is the presentation. Like, the game now uses a lot of broadcast graphics from, say, the English Premier League or the Bundesliga, and now it actually looks a lot closer to the actual product. Not to mention the fact that the game now has a better crowd system, so crowds now chant a lot more, there's a lot more team songs. So let's say I'm playing the Merseyside Derby, a lot of the chants are going to be very related to that, and that's awesome.
But going from a totally different angle, the game, I really don't feel like it flows that well. It doesn't feel that right. Like, they've done a lot of work on the trading card game, but the game part of that trading card, they haven't really worked on that. It just doesn't feel right.
Fair enough. I mean, I dig it. Like, I think now I love the fact that the goalkeepers are great this year, so now it's a lot harder to set up goals and a lot more satisfying when you actually get them in. I don't know, like, I think this is a game I want to stick with. I think if you honestly haven't checked it out by now, this is the game. This is certainly the year. I mean, it's certainly an improvement over last year's game, which I don't know if that's not saying a lot, but still, I reckon it's a good football game worth checking out.
I think if you are more of a, I guess, strategic fan, I really enjoy PES. So I find like there's a lot more like management of teams and stuff in actual gameplay itself.
Okay.
In PES rather than FIFA, where FIFA is a little bit more like, full defense, full offense, and you're just, controlling it with the D-pad.
Fair enough. So I guess your wait for PES 15. I'm happy with FIFA 15 at the moment.
So, Sonic's two major titles on the Mega Drive, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic & Knuckles, both celebrated their 20th anniversary this year, and we thought we'd talk about Sonic and the history of Sonic and his games. So, he started off on the Mega Drive and also the Master System with Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, 3, Sonic & Knuckles, and then there was a Sonic CD, which was also an awesome game. All 2D platformers.
And all fast. And
there
was a big difference. Big difference between Mario and Sonic was Mario was a little bit slower, more
Finesse,
exact. Yeah, whereas Sonic was just fast. Blast processing.
Flat out
running.
Fast as you could go to the end of the level. And you could go fast.
Yeah.
Sometimes the screen wouldn't keep up with Sonic in the old games. It was awesome.
Yeah, you get through a level and you go, well, what happened?
Yeah.
So, that was part of the appeal of Sonic. Very, very different to what Nintendo were offering.
And when Sega changed consoles to the Saturn,
yeah, we had an isometric Sonic game. We also had Sonic R, which is a very good run-around game.
No major mainstream Sonic titles though. It was all spin-offs, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Sonic really didn't hit its straps in 3D until Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 on the Dreamcast. And they were excellent run-around Sonic games. Still kind of fast, a little bit tedious at times in the city areas and that. Some unfortunate characters that like to go fishing.
Yep.
But the Dreamcast was where it started to move into 3D. And there were no other 3D games on consoles until the very excellent Sonic Generations came out a few years later.
What about all the Wii titles and the PS2 titles and Okay. Anyway, he was also on handhelds at the time. So during that time, he was on the Game Gear for Sega. He was on the Game Boy Advance for Nintendo. He was also on the DS, and they're all 2D games, and they're all quite good.
Yes, and on the PSP, very, very good games where you're basically racing, which is really, really Sonic running again. Not exactly where Sonic used to be, but a lot of fun on the PSP Sonic.
Yep.
After Sonic Generations, which is probably the best of them, that was it again. No more Sonic games.
Well, what about the latest one?
Now Sonic comes out exclusive soon as Sonic Boom with the cartoon to accompany it. Brand new look for the characters. Has been interesting reception of them so far. Sonic hasn't really, to be fair to say, had the best days since
he went 3D.
Yeah, since he went 3D, which is
his 2D days were good, and they've all been maintained a certain level of standard. But even when he went to like modern consoles like the DS, but yeah, his 3D efforts have kind of been hit and miss.
The hit was this. And the miss did okay in tennis and racing, but yeah, not very good. But we still love Sonic.
that was the opening cinematic to Witcher 3, and I cannot wait. It's sort of laid the groundwork for, if you've seen any of the clips so far, it's Geralt tracking down this ashen-haired girl, and it's the basis of the main story in the Wild Hunt. So I'm really looking forward to the game. And
except for you explaining it, then I had no idea what was going on. I was like, oh, this is pretty.
And then a horse loses his head.
that was really, really brutal. And then, suddenly it appears in someone's bed the next morning, and you're like, oh, that's why this has got the mafia involved. Yeah. So, no, but it does look really slick. There's been so much hype building up for this game, particularly because I hang out with you, Timmy. Yeah. So there's a lot of hype going on here.
Yeah, personally, I'm really waiting to see more of the gameplay out of this, because that was cinematic. I mean, it's the opening cinematic, but it's still got me hyped. I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the raven. I like the bird. Like, I don't know, can you use that as a power? That'd be pretty cool. I just go and peck people annoyingly. You know what I mean? Like, get my enemies, like my hordes of enemies. I just go,
send a bird.
Just send a bird, and just to not even to peck them. Not as brutal as that where they went through his head.
Yeah.
But I just go to peck them on the other shoulder, and then they'd look, and then they'd be like, what the hell? And then I'd peck them on the other shoulder. I'd be really petty. Yeah. Like that, to just drive them to insanity. And if the AI is smart enough, then they just start killing. It's like when you use poison dart in Assassin's Creed. They're like, eh.
So I'm going to get you to play Witcher 3.
Yeah.
It's not often that we get to see a big budget game produced by an Australian studio, but here we are with 2K Games' Borderlands the pre-sequel, and we're both big fans of Borderlands 1 and 2, so this one's in a bit of an odd spot.
Yep, so this is Borderlands 3. It's the pre-sequel to 2. So it's set in between 1 and 2, so a lot of the characters and story are coming back there. It's Borderlands all over again. It's a first-person shooter. If you played the series, you'll probably be familiar with the concept. There's not a lot new brought to the table. It's first-person shooter, RPG. You've got a lot of number games. You've got leveling up. You've got skills. And there's a big focus on the variety of the weapons.
And the loot. And
all that elemental effects and all sorts of different things going on. But yeah, they've pretty much brought the same formula to the table with a couple new additions.
Yeah, so basically, along with a couple of new elemental effects like cryo, the main difference is it's on the moon. So you get some oxygen pack, you can double jump around, you can butt stomp people and freeze them and then shoot them. So they've added a couple of different things, along with the new classes, Claptrap, which was a bit of an interesting one, which is a lot of RNG-based buffs and debuffs, and it plays pretty interestingly, but sometimes it can be a bit annoying.
Yeah, yes, there's a few things with Borderlands that are still true to the series. If you played the other games, it's a bit disappointing to see they haven't fixed or touched up things that they could have in the series, such as the navigation with the maps, getting around the world is a bit difficult. There's bugs and glitches, getting caught in the environment and things like that.
Like particularly with the maps, a lot of them are designed so they're stacked on top of one another, and the mapping just doesn't show verticality very well unless like really close to an objective. Then it'll actually show you that it's above or below you, and as well as that, it's a couple of the bugs were mainly side quest stuff, but when objectives are being caught underneath terrain and you can't get to them, it's annoying.
And especially with the moon physics they're talking about, it's amazing the moon physics kind of apply to the items that characters drop, and sometimes you see someone die and their item will just go flying off into the distance. I actually had someone once, they died and the ragdoll physics on the moon gravity physically kicked an item they dropped and it went flying off into the distance and off down a cliff somewhere and it was gone. So yeah, there were a few things about this I can't say I enjoyed. Like, it's not the strongest game, but one thing I did definitely enjoy is being developed by 2K Australia. They have a lot of Aussie humour in there.
Yes, very much so. Like, a lot of the side quests will have Don Bradman in it, Swagman's, like typical Australian stuff. You can even pick up a shotgun that hurls bogan abuse at you when you shoot it and when you put it away.
And they've got an Abbott reference in there as well, all sorts of stuff like that. So.
And pretty much the whole moon is Australian accents. They're all Australian voice actors, except for like a couple of the main characters. So it is really good from an Australian point of view. I'm not sure how well it'd go down. Like, a lot of the references would go over the head of an American that might be playing it, but otherwise it's just more Borderlands. Co-op is still fantastic. They've still got the drop-in, drop-out system in the New Game Plus mode. Lots of guns to be had. If you're playing with friends, might give it a go. Otherwise, maybe not.
So it seems that this game is as crazy as it's always been.
Yeah.
If nothing less, the eccentricities of its artwork.
Yeah, and I think that is slightly to its downfall as well, because when you're playing these are long games, and you invest a lot of hours into 1 and 2, and then when the third game comes along, you're still playing essentially the same game. It's still fun, but it's less fun to play by yourself.
And I think that's an issue that really does actually come across in a lot of games. I'm seeing that kind of fatigue almost in like Assassin's Creed, in the Assassin's Creed series at times, and that's what I really liked. I think that's where number 3 fell down.
Yeah.
Maybe it's this third game syndrome, because
Maybe.
Assassin's Creed 3 had that drag,
Yeah.
but then Pirates was fantastic. So
But
maybe
now, like, they're doing, 2 Assassin's Creeds a year? So
it
some will
is.
hit, some will miss. So.
Yeah, but you never know. I mean, see, hey, there's like a billion Marvel movies coming out, but
Yeah.
most of them are still pretty good. So who knows? It might be the every second game syndrome, but it could be the same with Borderlands. You know, obviously, I assume they're going to bring out another game. Plus, it's actually one of the games to come out of Australia recently as well, which is interesting to point out.
Yeah, we don't get bigger games coming out of Australia very often, so it's pretty cool to have something that's such a big franchise as Borderlands. Yeah, and I was speaking to the guy at E3 from 2K Australia, and he was rapt. Like, he was so excited to be working with such a cool IP.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I would love to work on that.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would really turn down an opportunity to work on like a Borderlands.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be really cool. Well,
Yes.
obviously now that PAX is over, we're pretty much on a cruisy streak until Christmas.
Yep.
Like, as in, it's just game playing now. We're not probably stepping out of the bedroom, the basement very
Yep.
often now. So we've got some really cool reviews coming up. Of course, Bayonetta.
Yes.
Oh man, some serious like Goche considers here because it's a really hype game. I'm so excited. I don't know.
And we'll have that next week. But
coming up
for
for
now,
you.
we'll wrap it up. Visit our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/NewGamePlusTV.
Follow our Twitter and Instagram at NewGamePlusTV.
And don't forget to watch our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/NewGamePlusTV.
Thank you, Kirsty.
Thank you, Tim, and we'll see you guys next week.